ladies, want to highlight that your boundaries, that you enforcing your boundaries is actually you being in your strong feminine energy. And there's nothing more you can do for the people around you but be in that energy and enforce those boundaries. It will change all of your relationships.
Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Be It Till You See It interview recap, where my co-host in life, Brad, and I are going to dig into the evocative convo I had with Kelli Adame in our last episode. If you haven't yet listened to that episode, feel free to pause us now, go back and listen to that one, and then come back and join us. Holy freaking moly.
It was evocative.
Is that how you say the word?
Yeah, evocative.
Okay, great. I'm great. I'm glad. I loved her the first time I heard her. I loved her more on my podcast, and we already have her scheduled to come back. So I hope you loved her because she's coming back.
I really enjoyed the convo. I actually listened to the whole thing twice.
Oh, I know. I was interested to hear what you thought about it because I think it's interesting to talk about, we're talking about masculine and feminine energies and what those things are. And I think we also talked a little bit about feminism and things like that. And a
little bit, yeah.
I first of all, ladies, we always have all this amazing power, and we've got to stop thinking we've got to fight for it. We just have to take it and then enjoy that we also have this incredible power. She's so amazing. I hope you all listen to the whole
I found it very
interview.
Freeing.
Yes.
Because it kind of gave a permission structure to be both masculine and feminine.
Yes.
And energetically, and the fact that we actually are both,
for both people
was interesting for me. Yeah, I didn't know that.
For both. And look, she was very aware that she was talking more in a heterosexual relationship sense. However, this happens in same gendered, relationships and in different things. So I think it's really important to see yourself in this story, but it's true. I think a lot of people are a little confused on what is masculinism and what is feminine energy. And I think even for myself, I can be I can do those things too. And she's not saying you can't. she's just saying it when you're in your relationship, here's a way that can actually make the relationship work better. And also it doesn't mean that you who's listening to this episode, who's deciding which energy you're showing up as, has to be the one doing the work. The other person has to show up doing their work too.
Sure.
And she talked about how she and her partner support each other. Anyways, we'll get into it in a second. Today is National Transgender Children's Day. Fuck yeah. Way to go to all your parents, all the parents out there who've got a child who's going through that. You're amazing. You're awesome. I'm so glad you see them. And for those of you who want a different holiday today, it's also Worldwide Howl at the Moon Night. So I hope you choose both. I hope you celebrate both. That would be my ask of you, but yeah. So there you go. We just got back from Cambodia, and we are going to be opening up the doors to our next Cambodia retreat in the new year. So go to lesleylogan.co/retreat. And the reason you want to do that is because you want to be on the wait list, because the wait listers get the best rate of the retreat.
Yeah, they do.
The public gets a different rate.
And they also get first dibs. So there's
small.
limited spots.
Yes.
Yep.
In November, I am going to be in Chicago. You want to DM me for that link. There's a la carte options. There's full weekend options. I have a masterclass there. Also, we're coming to that time of the year where if you're wanting to be in my mentorship program, Elevate, or if you're wanting to see about the tour, we've got lots of info on that. So just hit us up if you're wanting to know about Elevate, if you're wanting to know about the tour. On our socials, we've got all the things. And December, we are going to be on our huge epic tour. And our sponsors are working on an incredible prize and all these things. So we're really stoked. You want to make sure you're getting the emails. You're going to make sure that you are heading to one of the many stops we're going on. It's a 7,000 mile tour. So just saying. Yeah. 14 cities, y'all. It's going to be big. It's huge. Babe, do we have an audience question before we talk about Kelli? Today we do. So you were recently asked for your live YouTubes
that you've been doing with Andrea Maida. You were asked by someone, what is the piece of Pilates equipment that you could not live without?
Yeah, she had a bet with her husband, and I fucking hope she made money. Or got whatever the bet was. This is a hard question, and she and I both cheated because we're like, because I do think the mat is an apparatus, but I was like, well, we can do the mat with a special mat. So I chose the window chair because the Contrology window chair is my fucking favorite, and because I could do the mat.
Yeah.
Next to the chair on the floor. Do you have a favorite? You don't like the mat. That I know.
I don't hate the mat, but I
well, that's because you'd have to do it twice. That's because you know the rule. If you don't like something, it means you need it, so you have to do it 2 times.
Oh, well, I was just thinking I'm so used to a yoga mat that it's really difficult to switch over to the Pilates mat because it feels like squishy compared to the floor. But
do it on the floor.
No, I like the reformer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love that. Good for you. If you have a question that you're wanting us to ask, you just send it in the Beit Pod. We love to answer them. There's no question that's too small or too big. We love to do it. So make sure you send it in to us.
Heck yeah. Okay, now let's talk about Kelli Adame. Drawing on her education as a depth psychotherapist, Kelli offers transformative insights as a relationship coach. She's passionately committed to guiding individuals towards authentic connections and nurturing healthier romantic relationships.
Yeah, I really was so excited about this. I thought it was really fun because we haven't had like a be it till you see it in relationships, really, especially like for those of you who are like existing in one already. And so,
well, we had a sex therapist, but that wasn't quite the same thing.
No, I think that's a little but I mean, they should meet.
Yeah, they would
totally. They should love each other.
Totally connect.
So this one really spoke to me the most because, and shout out to Tasha, because she actually just a post recently when the time we're recording this about boundaries, that you can be kind and have boundaries. But she said this, Kelli said this, part of being embodied in feminine energy is saying no to what doesn't feel good. Ladies, did you hear that? It's not nice to do things that don't feel good. It's not nice. It's not good to like have no boundaries. In fact, you're more embodied in your feminine energy when you say no to what doesn't feel good. So you get to have really clear boundaries. It's actually crucial for your feminine energy. No wonder so many women are burnt the fuck out because they're trying to be liked or kind or people pleasing and they've lost their boundaries. I've just like fucking listed that again. She said it's our societal conditioning of saying yes. We're so conditioned to say yes and to just do it. But then we get resentful about that. Yeah, of course, because we're no longer in our feminine energy and that's not fun to be in. And that results in resentment and that's not fun.
Yeah, I actually liked, the breakdown of the difference between masculine and feminine energy and then effectively like the actions that you are taking with one or not with the other. And I didn't realize that since, all people are at different times, like leaning into one or the other. I didn't realize that effectively the working world that we know of, everyone's leaning into their masculine energy.
Yeah. We're all leaning in really hard. And then what's affecting is the people who do want to live in their masculine energy more feel a little bit lost because everyone's just like living in it 24/7 and we're not. It's like a dimmer switch or like an open and close office hours. We're not actually, we blended our office hours to being anytime, all time. And so it's really about like when you work in the things that are masculine energy, like really leaning in that. And then when you're not supposed to be in that energy, like really owning your feminine or your masculine and honoring each other's energies because of that. Yeah,
well, and I think that ties right back into the boundaries because, I know that like what ends up happening is that we get stuck in the work mode, masculine energy, even when we're at home, like you were saying, especially because of work from home world now, and then having a clear boundary of like, I'm allowed to shift gears. It's really hard for me to permit myself to shift gears because I feel like I have to stay in this, work mode, work. masculine energy. And sometimes like shifting into relax mode or, whatever, like creative mode, when I shift into that, like I almost feel guilty about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's because I don't have a commute like I used to have at my old job.
Right.
I had a hard break in my day where I was like super high, intense, focus, putting out fires. And then I had my drive home. And when I got home, it was like permission to shift.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been really interesting, working from home these past few years.
But
how do we
for both of us,
create that boundary?
I slowly lost my commute as well. You lost your commute even sooner. Well, I mean, I guess you had a longer.
I'm not
commute than a shorter
complaining
period.
about losing my commute.
No,
it wasn't
we're
my
not.
favorite thing I ever did,
No.
but it was a marker in my day.
But it was like a really good, like the switch is turning.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're correct. We need to figure out a new commute. In air quotes, because we're not going to
Well,
do that.
I mean, it's a little bit turned into cooking dinner for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good commute. Anyways, ladies, want to highlight that your boundaries, that you enforcing your boundaries is actually you being in your strong feminine energy. And there's nothing more you can do for the people around you, but be in that energy and enforce those boundaries. It will change all of your relationships. And sure, you're going to piss some people off, but you're going to feel fucking good about it. That's what I loved. Anyways, what did you love? It's okay to not be liked by everyone. Full permission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard for most. It's hard for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Same.
Yeah.
But also, some of the people don't like me. I actually don't like them. So it's okay.
Fair. I really loved when she was talking about identity, and how we are inadvertently tying our identity to our achievements because of the way that our society operates and how we were raised, and
Yes.
winning
Yes.
in soccer, or scoring a goal, or getting a medal, or getting an A on a test, or any of that shit, applying to colleges and getting a job, all that. Like, it feels like this achievement. Like,
Yeah.
we've got these achievements we have to hit along the way of life, right? And so we end up tying ourselves to that mode of thinking,
Yes.
and then also the achievements themselves. And if something fucks up with one of your achievements, then now you apparently no longer have any value.
Yeah.
Like, we do that to ourselves.
Oh, I'm sorry, parents, if you're listening. I know you are. Love you. But I distinctly remember them coming to pick me up at school, and my progress report came out. And because there was some C's and some B's and some A's, but there was C's for the first time on my progress report, marching me back to the teacher and being upset with me because I had C's. And luckily, the teacher explained like where I needed to do some improvement. But looking back, it would have been nice if they had understood the efforting I was doing to get those C's, and that the achievement of the A, B's, and the A's and B's don't actually reflect who I am as a human being, And
sure.
I think like I got paid for straight A's. I got paid money for that. So I was like conditioned to achieve.
Right.
And I there's good reason for that. Thank you. I got the fuck out of house. I'm good. But as an adult, having to learn how to be a recovering overachiever has been a journey, because it actually doesn't fucking matter if we win at any of our goals. It actually does matter how I treat myself along the way, and having to be okay with not achieving has been really hard.
Well, she talked about how the achievement, culture, basically how it really affected her life, because, then you start getting a little older, you start dating. And she said when she was starting to dating, it turned into like, or I think it was her client actually, was looking at her life and saying, I've achieved all these things, right? So therefore I must be wanted
Right.
by others. And so,
And it's so interesting because my clients in LA, there are these high achieving women, and they felt like they needed to play down their achievements because people didn't like them. And
Right.
so that made them feel like they had to hide their true selves.
Mm.
And I was like, well, I think your achievements are pretty awesome, but I guess you don't like when people ask you like, so what do? You don't have to like list off every achievement you've ever had. This is not your TED Talk.
Yeah, and I mean, you two were joking about, you don't go out there saying like, I'm looking for someone with 6 medals on their wall to date. Like,
Right.
That's not what ends up happening.
No.
And if that is what ends up happening, then might not be the best situation. But, I just thought it was interesting because I definitely know that. I understand that like viscerally, because when my band stopped playing, when I had moved across the country to Los Angeles to play in this band, and 2 years later it stopped, and I was lost. I did not know what to do with myself. I didn't know how to introduce myself. Everything I was Brad's in a band, and then Brad wasn't in a band. So I was like, well, what's the fucking point?
Isn't that so interesting? Because it wasn't like, I mean, this is not to knock you, but it's not like your band was like playing on the radio.
No.
So
no,
like
we were still getting our feet wet. We were trying to play shows and write music and stuff.
That just being able to say I'm in a band,
yeah,
was like, it meant so much to you. It meant more than that the band like wasn't actually doing the things you wanted to do.
Yeah,
because when I met you, you were in a band.
Yeah,
and when that
was my like third or fourth band by that point, maybe fifth. I don't even know.
And then we officially started dating. You quit that band, and I thought, oh fuck. Did I cause this? Am I Yoko?
Yeah. Well, the whole band stopped. I mean, I think it was
Side note, I just want to say,
yeah,
listen to your Wrong About podcast about Yoko, because she did not fucking kill the Beatles, and we're not going to blame that on that woman, because I'm tired of blaming women for things. The men didn't get along.
We'll get a link to that episode in the show notes.
The reason the Beatles aren't together is because they didn't get along. It's not because of her. Just defending.
I think. Hey, I don't know that whole story. I love it. Well, anyway, just the fact that we're kind of raised to do that, and so what happens if we shift out of that achievement, performance, gear, and then how do we define ourselves outside of, I'm Dr. So-and-so who, sailed around the world 6 times. Like, what if it's just like, I love sailing, and, it's kind of tying those things together. And then, it's the act of doing things instead of achieving the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's why I love Pilates so much, because like, at least the way I practice it and the way I teach it, it's like, it's actually not about I'm a Pilates instructor or like I can do the long spine massage, whatever. I love every time I hit my practice, it is like I'm doing my practice. It's not a perfection thing for me. And I get to process it. I get to be in it. I get to be enjoying the journey of it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean I love that journey all the time, but I think that it's nice to have something that I am in the process of and not attaching myself to its performance. Anyways, it's really fucking awesome. There's so much, you guys.
Yeah, this is a really deep episode.
I really had a hard time ending the episode. So we don't even have enough time to recap every awesome thing she said. You have to listen to it.
Yeah, go back. It's worth it. All right. So finally, let's talk about those beit action items. What bold, executable, intrinsic, or targeted action items can we take away from your convo with Kelli Adame?
You go first.
Yeah, sure. She said, decide primarily which energy you want to sit in. Mm-hmm. Do you want to primarily sit in feminine energy, or do you want to primarily sit in masculine energy? And then she said, understanding which energy you lean toward can guide you in finding a complementary partner and foster a healthier dynamic.
Mm-hmm. I love this because I think this really actually lends itself to however you identify yourself as a person and like what kind of relationship you're in.
Yeah.
Somebody gets to spend in your romantic relationship, somebody gets to be in the masculine energy and someone gets to be in the feminine energy. And one of you, like, you have to respect your partner, and one of you cherish, like, there's a giving and receiving that's happening. And if you want to be in the masculine energy at home, that's okay. You can, but these are the things you have to do so that the other person feels part of that relationship, and they have to receive. It's a whole thing. So go listen to it, because I really enjoyed.
It's a give and take. I mean, it's a back and forth. And I think.
Well, that's why marriage can't be 50-50.
Well, yeah. And you were talking about this, that like you were talking about the author, drawing a blank.
Is it Tim Ferriss?
No,
Oh, Brene
you were
Brown.
talking about
Oh,
Brene
yeah,
Brown, right? And her example of like at different times of the day, even the ball shifts back and forth, or they're flipping, back and forth.
They're very
based on
communicative. I'm like, this is the energy. Hey, I'm showing up at 30 today. And they're like, no problem. I can do the rest. But if they're both showing up at 30s and they go, okay, so what are we going to do right now to
Right.
make sure we don't hurt each other, kill each other, ruin
Right.
this relationship? And I love that because
I didn't realize they were that like intentional about it.
well, they're just, I mean, I don't know that it's like all day long, but like when they come home from their work day, because they both actually have a work day and then they have a commute and they come home and they ask each other how they're doing. According to her interview, they say like, hey, I'm at a 30 today.
Right. Got it.
No problem. I'm having a great day. I'll pick it up.
And I think that it's interesting to have noticed that in our relationship too. Like, when I'm having a bad day, it's, I hope you can pick up the slack.
I do. I think I
vice
do.
versa.
And saying,
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like when you're having a bad day, I'm there to pick up the slack, and that's how we try to work together.
And I love that Kelli said, like, she mentioned like she was failing something, and then her husband, because he's aware of the work and they are integrated, is like, what can I do for you? And she's like, here's what I need right now, which I think is really important. I think we don't spend enough time with ourselves to know what we need, and I think that's one of my takeaway. But like, so we can actually verbalize, here's what I need right now, from the person that I'm in a relationship with to give me that. The Tim Ferriss thing, I don't know if I talked about it in the episode with Kelli, but I distinctly remember this time when he was doing like one of his tequila nights Q&As, and someone said like, I've been single for a really long time. How do you find someone who's compatible for you? And he said, I don't know why you're asking me this. This is not something I'm really familiar with. He's like, but here's how I've seen it. If you take like a spectrum and you put highly masculine on one end and highly feminine on the other end, and they're like polar opposites, then wherever you are on that spectrum, your equal opposite is actually gonna be the most compatible for you. And I was like, this is how
that's
fucking genius
what
is he
a great
with
visual.
like Kelli, what she's saying, because I actually think that you and I are neither one of us is like towards the ends of a spectrum, but we're not in the middle either. And like, I feel like we're pretty compatible in that way.
That's a really fascinating.
Is that a cool visual?
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, like we have some friends from LA, like we're like those like 1950s like lovers, like where the girl's like the pinup girl and the guy's like very, like grease lightning, and like, yeah, they work together because they're like pretty much on the spectrum of feminine, masculine, like equal opposites. You know what I mean? So it's very fascinating to me how that very simple spectrum works, and I think it goes along with what your beit action was.
Cool.
I'll go into mine.
Yeah. What about you?
Because I kind of talked about this. She talked about learning how to identify and regulate your own emotions and feelings, and it's very valuable. And they're just as valuable as your rational thoughts. And so she said, really checking in with like, what feels good to you? Like, does this feel good to me? So, and this goes with anything. Like if you've got we have people in our business coaching group where like clients are taking advantage of them and they're like, I don't know how to do this. They're like, well, does it actually feel good to you how that's happening? Right. Like, does that feel good? And then
same with managing a team or, whatever.
And then once you've asked yourself, pinpointing your emotions, like figuring out how you're actually feeling. And this is really key because I think a lot of times we try to like shove our emotions and qualify them or change them, or I shouldn't feel that way. No, like how is that making you feel? Like today, before we recorded this, I was like fucking feeling upset about something because it really hurt my feeling. It like just didn't feel good. And just verbalizing like what didn't feel good actually made things better. Yeah. But like just doing that, and then this is what she said, given that I'm feeling that way, insert the way you're feeling right there, what could I do to make myself feel better? And y'all, if you haven't spent enough time with yourself to know what makes you feel better, then you've got some homework to do.
Well, I mean, even doing this is hard. Because you have to be able to identify and like stop the cycle first. And then you ask yourself the question, does that feel good to me? And then you say, what could make me feel better? So, so you have to be aware enough to like kind of look at it from an objective perspective. Yes. Yeah.
And also my perfectionist overachievers are going to get it fucking wrong. You just are.
Well, you're never like, you're not like watching yourself from the side in all the moments.
No, but I think like I'm so grateful for the therapist I had a while back who made me list out a bunch of things that I thought would make me feel good about like spending my time. Like she's like, just make a list, like what would make you feel good. So I wrote like, of course, breath work, meditation, like all the things that like sound really good. And then I wrote down like going for a walk, and I wrote rock climbing, and I wrote journaling, and I wrote reading a book, and I wrote listening to music, and I wrote down all these things. And then what I had to do is like be conscious of when I was like feeling like out of control and looking at my list and go, okay, well, of these things, I'm looking at this list that I made when I wasn't feeling like a crazy person. Of this list, what would make me feel better right now? What do I think would make me feel better?
So you
right
actually
now?
have a list in front of you,
Yeah,
and you can refer back to
so
it because in the moment you're like, I can't fucking remember.
You need to do it when you're feeling good about yourself.
Yeah,
y'all.
that's a great idea.
Do it in the morning when like the day is your oyster.
Yeah,
and like make a list and then have that list handy. Have it on a card. Have it on a note in your phone. And then when I was feeling things, I would look at the list and I would try out the first thing that made me think I would make me feel good.
Cool.
And I was kind to myself if it didn't work. But sometimes just taking action, like especially if any part of what you're feeling is fear, just taking action really is shockingly helpful.
Yeah. Also especially with fear, like talking about it out loud, even if it's only you, it's really
go listen to Chris Goodman's
amazing.
episode, yeah, because it's
important.
It's kind of crazy how quickly taking some sort of action feels good. Anyways, Kelly's coming back.
Yeah, that was great.
She's phenomenal.
It was really tough to pull out like what to talk about in this recap because there was just a lot there.
Life changing. I need to write a book. Anyways, I'm Lesley Logan.
I'm Brad Crowell.
Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you going to use these tips in your life? What are you going to do? Are you going to let your partner listen to this? I hope so. What a perfect person to share this episode with. In fact, you know what you could do to make yourself feel really awesome right now is share this episode. It's going to be really great. And and especially if your friend needs to be in receiving mode, they should receive that very well. What a great practice. Have an amazing day until you see it.
Bye for now.
That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day.
Be It Till You See It is a production of the Bloom Podcast Network.
It's written, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Crowell.
It is produced and edited by the epic team at Diseño.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to Melissa Solomon for creating our visuals and Samena Velazquez for our transcriptions.
Also to Angelina Herrico for adding all the content to our website. And finally to Meredith Crowell for keeping us all on point and on time.
And we'll be right back.
Doo-doo.